Hello, and welcome back to Sakuramoyu, and let's get started with today's read-through. We had arrived at the terminal station in time. The star fragments we collected from various places we stopped at on our way here were now enough to fill up the bottle. What are we supposed to do now? I asked Hiori, whose hand I held so we wouldn't get separated. Walking through the terminal station at time grounds, just the two of us, mere humans, filled me with unease. Nana-chan was waiting on the dencha. Even if she hadn't witnessed what we had just done, I had a feeling Nana-chan had figured it out, which was a little scary. So while I was a little grateful to be left alone with her.
少し思い出してきた。
Huh? What? I asked. Hiori then replied.
私の忘れ物、それをここで取り戻すために。まずはね、お買い物をします。
買い物?
そうだよ。夜の中に散らばっていた星のかけらと引き換えに必要な素材をお買い物。
Hiori opened the Nikki and showed it to me. To shop at the terminal station at time, you generally need special gold and silver coins. These are made by exchanging the various emotions accumulated in your heart for coins of respective colors at the exchange counters found here and there. However, this shopping trip seemed to be an exception. The feelings scattered within the Yoru, star fragments. Shopping based on those glittering fragments, it seemed that it would be purchased with those dazzling feelings particles was limited. So simply by showing a bottle filled with star fragments the shops lined up there, the shopkeepers would bring out the one special item from the back. It seemed that only one such item was placed per shop. The exchange rate was 1 star fragment particle for one such item. At first, I didn't quite understand what it was that the shopkeepers exchanged for the star fragments. But as each one gathered, its shape started to become clear. It was a niño? I realized it was a Western-style niño, about the size of a baby. Each piece I received from the shops, a hand, a foot, a torso, they were all parts of a niño. The last shop we visited sold glass crafts. I received the glass-made blue left eye for that shop, and once I fitted it in, the niño was complete. Was this Hiori's lost item?
そうだね。このお人形が私の探していた忘れ物で、そして私の夢を叶えてくれる大切なもの。
Yume? Hio-chan's? What kind of Yume is it? Hiori said, She still couldn't recall anything definite about it.
それに、まだだよ、タイガ。まだ完成じゃない。
Hiori, who was slightly hugging the niño, shook her head.
最後にもう一つ、大切なパーツが残ってる。
Kaisetsuna? Where could that be? I stared intently at the niño Hiori was holding. Not only did it have all its body parts, but it was also adorned with a cute dress, shoes, and hair ornaments. It already seemed to me that the niño was perfectly complete. And what kind of yume this niño was supposed to grant Hiori in the first place? I didn't know. Hiori didn't answer. Instead, she pulled my hand, gazing at her notebook, saying our last stop was here. Koko? Guided by Hiori, we arrived beneath a sakura. It was different from going around the shops inside the station like before. It was under the massive withered sakura, towering in the center of the Yoru. What are we going to do here? The star fragment was indeed only one more grain left at the bottom of the bottle. I had come this far because I was told by the exchanging the last grain the niño Hiori was holding would be completed with what was obtained, but nobody's here. Daremo inai. Anyway, there wasn't a shop that seemed like it would exchange the star fragment for anything, and furthermore, there wasn't even a hint of a person. Wait, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. More like several hours later because I had to do this KCD stream. Anyway, let's continue. Hiori remained silent, still gazing up at the sakura. What's wrong? Her profile seemed colder than I had ever seen it before. Hio-chan. I instinctively leaned in to look at her face and called her name. It was deathly pale. It was more than just a cold profile. I realized Hiori's hand, which I was holding, was so cold it made me wonder if her body had frozen. I also noticed that her hand was trembling. Something is wrong. Something is happening inside Hiori. I can at least tell that much. I looked up at the sakura. The massive sprawling branches of the tree were so vast that they seemed to cover the entire town of Yoru. As I gazed up at it, looking at the sakura, I sometimes feel it's desperately spreading its arms to protect its precious staff from something terrible, because I had once again conjured up that slight sense of unease. Ne, Hio-chan? I asked. Even though I expected no reply, I continued to speak, telling myself it was fine. Do you remember what you said on the densha? Hio-chan, you said, "This is the last time," didn't you? Back then, I was so flustered by other things, and Hio-chan was, well, so many things. So much, kawaii. So, I just left it at that, but I'm pathetic. We're still feeling ashamed to say kawaii, even at a time like this. Shaking my head at myself with a mataku, I continued. Ne, nah, Hio-chan. I told you I wouldn't leave things as they were, right? That you'd definitely tell me the meaning of the words you spoke back then. Later. I wanted this to be that later. Even after I said that, Hiori still said nothing. But her gaze, which had been fixed on the sakura until moments ago, now fell weakly to her feet. I intended to wait as long as it took for Hiori to speak. I had a premonition. I couldn't just pretend I haven't heard her. and let it end there. I was certain those words Hiori had let slip contained something important.
タイガー、
Hiori said softly. Yeah, what is it?
あのね、タイガー、聞いてくれる？
Ah, もちろん. I told her to listen to anything. I listened to anything you had to say. Hio-chan, even a request. I'll listen to anything.
お願いも
Hiori looked up and looked into my eyes.
お話だけじゃなくって、どんなお願いでも聞いてくれるの？
Ah, I'll listen. I'll listen to absolutely everything. If it means Hio-chan will smile brightly again, anything. She stared intently at me. In her eyes, I searched for an answer to what Hiori was thinking right now. But, then a drop. A single large tear spilled from Hiori's eye.
ありがとう。私のお願い、聞いてくれるんだよね、タイガー。
I inadvertently gasped her tears.
さよなら、
Hiori said,
さよなら、タイガー。
taking out the single remaining star fragment from the bottom of the bottle into her palm.
最後のパーツはここにあるよ。
Gently placing her hand on her chest.
お願い、不思議な夜を作る桜の木。どうかお願いします。私の大切なものは全部あなたに捧げる。だから
Tears spilled, one after another, in the torrent.
どうか私の夢を叶えてください。
Hiori let go of my hand, the one she'd been holding. She let go of my hand, even though it was so precious. More than anything. More than anyone. It should have been something so important, so precious, something I had to love. But I ran, without looking back at you, whose hand I let go. I was consumed, running, and running. I wish I could shake off all the guilt as well. I'm going to get that precious life back. That was my dream. If you gain something in the Yoru, you must offer something of equal value. That is the Yoru's rule. So I had intended to offer your life to the Yoru, but I'm sorry. I'm ashamed of myself for even once thinking of sacrificing you. It was no use. In the end, I couldn't offer your life to the Yoru. I didn't let go of your hand to, for example, cast you into the depths of the Yoru. I touched my chest. There's no heartbeat. My life is already at the bottom of the Yoru. I had no regrets. I didn't waste my life. If I'm going to grant my own Yume, what else would I do but burn my own life? Sayonara. I thought I'd murmur that, but my voice wouldn't come out anymore. When I looked at my hands, my body had become nothing but a shadow. Sayonara. Thank you for everything until now. Because you were there, I was able to live until today. I muttered that to myself many times. And after that, well, the world after I burned this life and fulfilled my dream. How the outside world without me would change from now on. My only concern was not being able to witness it. Suddenly, I looked at the Yozora. Sakura. The sakura that shouldn't bloom are blooming. They must be blooming by burning my life. I felt that they already signified an eternal farewell to the outside world, and gently I closed my eyelids. Then the many moments, one after another, until today, continued to pile up in my heart like petals fluttering down into the yoru. What do I do, Nana-chan? Hiyo-chan is... She vanished, letting go of my hand that had been holding hers.
さよなら。
Hiori's body, after she said that, was flowers. A multitude of petals burst forth from within, overflowing, and Hiori disappeared, without any dazzling light illuminating the surroundings, without any violent explosion tearing through the air. Right in front of me in an instant, vanished. I searched the area. I searched everywhere. But as if to be expected, she was nowhere to be found. Nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. After listening to my hurried explanation, Nana-chan narrowed her eyes, and her shoulders slumped with a small sigh.
どうして気づかなかったんだろう。
Nana-chan murmured, as if to herself.
思えば、今夜の日和はいつもとちょっとだけ様子が違った。本当にちょっとだけだけど。あの子は何か願いを叶えるために自分の命を夜に捧げたんだよ。
あ？
今夜は何か大河にお願いしたいことがあるから。だから謙虚にしているんだよって。そういうあの子の言葉に何も疑いを抱かなかった。集めて回った星のかけらで10年前の忘れ物を取り戻す。そんなあの子の言葉を信じてしまった。もしかしたら日和は最初からこうするつもりで。
Nana-chan hung her head, as if saying, I should have noticed. No, I should have noticed. Me too. Even I, listening to Nana-chan's monologue, think the same.
今夜で最後だから。
That was Hiori's murmur, the one I couldn't miss. Just as I tried to press her on it, Hiori vanished. I should have asked Hiori her true intentions sooner. If I had, I might have at least understood what Hiori was thinking, what kind of problems she was facing. We might have even been able to think together about how to solve that problem. Regret. I regret it. The time we live is always overflowing with countless regrets.
私もついていけばよかった。
Nana-chan says, her voice brimming with regret.
日和がここで時の終着駅で購入したらしい人形は、つまり寿命のすべてを終えてしまった何者かを現実世界に生まれ直させるために必要なものなんだ。
Rebirth. That word sounds familiar. More than that, it was even a word I spoke myself just the other day. Toya's friend. In their case, it wasn't the real world, but inside Yoru. To be reborn as a night creature. They must have discussed with Toya what creature to be reborn at the terminal station at a
そ
time.
のために必要なのは、駅に並ぶそれぞれの店でそれぞれ人形のパーツを買い、最後に桜だよ。
Nana-chan cast her gaze beyond the car window, and she narrowed her eyes, gazing at it visible in the distance.
あの桜に命を差し出す。そうすると器は完成する。一度死んだ何者かを現実世界へ呼び戻すための器が、ただ 夜の中から取り戻したいと願う何者かと、同等ほど大切に思う命でなければならないけれど。
Nanchan says that's exactly what Hiori was making. A vessel to bring someone Hiori cherished from the Yoru.
日和が一体何者のことを失い、何者のことを夜の中から取り戻そうとしたのかはわからないけれど、日和は自分の命を夜に捧げたんだ。
Foolish. Nanchan murmured softly, and she bit her lip.
あなた自身が命を捧げてしまったら、自分の夢が本当に叶ったのかさえわからないじゃないか。
What exactly did Hiori wish to bring back? The Nino. The vessel Hiori made to bring that someone is now in my arms. From my arms, I could faintly feel a heartbeat. Is this Nino now trying to be reborn as someone Hiori cherished? Thump thump goes the sound of a heart. Honestly, it's not a pleasant sensation.
朝が来ると人形も目覚める。
Nanchan said that. At that time, that something would be reborn as a new life outside the Yoru. If I couldn't return Hiyori's heart trapped within the Nino to her by that moment, Hiori would wander the Yoru forever.
私はてっきり日和はさ、夜の中で集めて回った星のかけらでもっと別の夢を叶えようとしてたんだろうと勝手に決めつけて安心してた。
例えば to fix her innate poor sense of direction with the star fragments more valuable than gold or silver coins. 例えば to do something about always feeling hungry. To rewrite those inconveniences of living. Kakekaeru. Rewrite. Anyway, wasn't that what he already wished for? I had convinced myself of it, despite having no basis whatsoever.
あの子が何か自分を犠牲にしてまで何かをなそうとそう考えていただなんて。そんな覚悟を持って今夜の夜にやってきていたなんて信じられない。今でもそうだよ。
Nanchan said that Hiori had now offered her own heart, Shinzo, and her very existence must have become a part of the Yoru, or maybe Kokoro, maybe it's Kokoro here for this instance. Anyway, a shadow. Hiori had now become one of those shadows that drift through the Yoru, wandering the Yoru forever, searching for happy times perhaps. I could even call it a crystallization of memories. Hiori, who had become something like that to fulfill her own dream. My Osana Najimi. Yozuki Hiori. Wait, that's no. What's her name again? Yorotsuki Hiori. My bad. Jesus. It's the machine forgot. Well, yeah, whatever. I looked at my palm. It's a promise. Definitely. Hio-chan, even if this was something you yourself desperately wish, for I will definitely find you. Clenching my fist, I look at the sakura in full bloom. That's strange. I suddenly wanted to recall something from the past. I wonder, when it was told the story of those girls, and from whose list was I told about their destiny? For me, who was still so young and always trapped in darkness, living as if stifling my breath and heart, it was difficult to make it clear. Yet the story of those girls remains in my heart, never forgotten. A long, long time ago, They said that several girls saved this town. This town had once suffered catastrophic damage. The sakura bloom, and bloom profusely. For some reason, even after the spring passed, the flowers didn't wither, they bloomed and scattered repeatedly. Those petals covered the town. The flowers piled up like snow that wouldn't melt, submerging the entire town in the pink abyss. Crops wouldn't grow. Isolated from neighboring towns, the people gasped for life. Believing this phenomenon divine rat, ancient people offered maidens' lives to the town's largest sakura. It was a common sacrifice legend. To appease the angry gods of nature, they offered the lives of young and beautiful maidens. That town legend claims after maidens were sacrificed, the blooming sakura withered, and the town's usual scenery returned. In most cases, behind such legends passed down through generations, there exists a tragic truth too awful to hear. This seemingly beautiful tale, a sakura blooming and piling up without ever withering, was likely crafted to conceal the horrific truth behind it. Surely in this town, too, there must have been a tragic story where maidens were forced to swallow their tears. There's no way to uncover the truth anymore, but the feelings of those maidens, whose lives were devoured, along with the most radiant time of their youth, still linger right beside us even now. The maidens wish, they envision. When they were reborn, they didn't want a world where such painful and unreasonable things were allowed. They wanted a world overflowing with fun, more than they could ever imagine. All the gathered maidens were born, blessed with incredibly rich Sozoruku. They were children born into such a bloodline. The space of the real world was the maiden's canvas. Manifesting Sozoruku in reality, they colored an era lacking entertainment like songs, paintings, and stories, delighting the townspeople. Fearing such powers, adults sought to eradicate the maiden's line, claiming the sakura's abnormal weather was their demonic maho. As they drew their last breath, the maidens wish, they envisioned. I wish the afterlife was like this, they thought, meaning their end while projecting happy scenes onto the Yoru screen. Among them, there were more than a few maidens who wished that the greatest misfortune would befall the adults who had forced misfortune only upon them. That ruin would come upon them precisely when the adults reached the height of prosperity and the peak of happiness. It's a rumor that the adults who buried the maidens alive each met a gruesome death. I am a descendant of those maidens. Therefore, someday, just like those maidens, I must offer this life to the Yoru to connect that next world they envision to the future. I was told this by the adults and grew up in the depths of darkness. The time limit is until morning. That's right, isn't it, Nana-chan? Standing at the Ekimai, where countless creatures of the Yoru came and went, I asked Nana-chan beside me. If we can't find Hiori by then, we'll never be able to rescue Hiori from the Yoru again. Nana-chan said that was right. She held the Nino Hiori created to her chest. Hiori's kokoro trapped within it. To return that to Hiori.
今、夜の中をさまよういっぱいの影たち。その一人になってしまってるだろう日和を見つけ出すこと。そして命を返す。朝までにそれを行えなければ、大河の言う通り、日和は二度と戻ってこれない。
Instead,
日和の代わりに。この人形が外の世界で日和の居場所を奪い生まれ直すことになる。
The Hiori's place.
夜月神社の長女であり奏大河の幼なじみである少女。そういう存在に何者かが成り代わる。そういうことだよ。
I don't know who this Nino will become. And of course, I don't know who will take Hiori's place either. I don't know, but there shouldn't be anything I need to obtain at the cost of Hiori's life. Come in, Hio-chan. It might be an act of trampling on the resolve you made to go that far, but I want to get you back. I can't return outside all by myself. Until Asa comes. About 2 or 3 more hours, I guess. I looked at the numbers indicated by the clock tower. Nana-chan, will you help me look for Hiori? Stepping 1 foot outside of the densha, I looked back inside the carriage. Nana-chan? I had fully expected a reply. Like, of course. But Nana-chan. She shook her small head from side to side.
私はいけない。大河と一緒には。
なんで？
ちょっと待って。何か勘違いしてそうだけど。違う。手分けをしようって話だよ。大河は駅の中を探して、私はその周辺を探すから。必ずしも駅の中にいるとは限らない。影となった命は生きていた頃に幸せだった時間を求めてさまよい歩く。
That's why we're
もう
splitting
す
up.
でに街の方へ歩いて行ってしまってるかもしれない。
That's why we're splitting up. The time limit is until morning comes. Nana-chan left me with several points of caution and immediately set the densha in motion, departing. Hio-chan, no matter how hard to find a place you wander into, I promise, I'll definitely come for you. I clenched my hands tightly. By the time I gained consciousness, I was already there. It was a large mansion. I spent my entire day there. I've never been outside since I was born. I grew up not even knowing there was a world different from here outside the mansion.
この世界のすべてには条件がある。
Someone repeatedly told my younger self that.
あなたは私たちの願いを叶えるための条件なんだ。
That's why I kept alive in this mansion. Until that time comes. That's what I was whispered, over and over again. But back then, as a mere child, I couldn't possibly understand any emotion other than... should this be loneliness or something? My Chichiwe and Hahawe would come to see me about once a week. At first, I didn't know who they were. It was the old woman who always looked after me, always by my side, who told me that they were my Chichiwe and Otosan and Okasan. In that huge mansion, I spent my days alone with that old woman. It was a long, long day. Time spent simply reading all the picture books on the mansion bookshelves. The old woman didn't talk to me. She just made meals on time and neatly folded clothes, leaving them in front of my room. That was all. Even if I tried to talk to her, she'd just make a displeased face that wouldn't even meet my eyes. Even living together, we didn't know each other's names. In the first place, I didn't have a name. One day, I found a kanji I couldn't read in the picture book and asked the old woman how to read it. Then the old woman said,
その答えを教える代わりに、あんたは私に何を教えてくれるのか。何かを得るなら、同様の支払いが必要なんだ。覚えておけ。
she said, narrowing her eyes. Then the old woman left me, entered her bedroom, and locked the door with a loud thud. Yoru. A sleepless night. I heard the chirping of insects, the mansion creak in the wind. Before the closed door, my abandoned heart ached, a sharp, piercing pain. It was then that I learned the feeling of loneliness. My otosan and okasan, who came to see me once a week, they didn't come to worry about me or to talk to me. They wouldn't even meet my eyes, call me that thing, or this thing, or it, and simply talk to the woman before leaving. I'm lonely. Sabishi. Anyway, that feeling grew bigger and bigger each day, in place of my small self. Wait, I'll be right back really quick. Okay, I'm back. Hiori! I shouted. Where are you? I ran around the strange station, shouting again and again. But I know this voice won't reach Hiori. Hiori is now in the place that's close, yet further than anything else. Akage. Many Kage pass through the vast station concourse, brushing right by. Hiori, having lost her kokoro, has become one of them. They are the dead. Lingering echoes of feelings that forever wander the Yoru, seeking once more to breathe happy moments they had in life. This is what the Kage are. They are souls that reached the end of their lives, yet clung to regrets in the world of the living outside of the Yoru. The homes of the Kage I peered into her shadow from house windows when Toya and I went around collecting Akumu fragments. Is Hiori also somewhere like that, repeating some past happy time, second by second continuing to forget the outside world, the time, the sun? Hiori. The Kage that brushed past my shoulder might be so. I turn around and follow its back, but I can't tell just by looking. Even when I peer into their downcast faces, their expressions are stained completely black. Not just their faces, but their entire bodies were darkness. It's hard to tell who someone is just by their silhouette. And yet, just once, I only have one chance to pull Hiori up from the depths of the Yoru. Nana-chan had told me that before we split up.
日和だと思う影の肩に触れるんだ。タイが。あなたのその手で。夜と現実とをつなぐその左手で。そうすれば人形に閉じ込められた命がその手のひらから日和の体に戻り、日和は夜の中から帰ってこられるはずだよ。
However, Nana-chan said I only have one chance. Once.
そうだよ。
Nana-chan nodded.
もし間違えてしまったら、日和とは違う全くの他人の肩を叩いてしまったら。
A stranger's light, completely unrelated to Hiori, would slip in. Nana-chan pointed to the vessel I held in my arms.
一度無関係な影に飲まれた命は、もう二度と元には戻らない。
For the Kage who had lost their lives, life is a dazzling treasure above all else. Once they get their hands on it, the Kage will never let go. So I must absolutely, absolutely not make a mistake. Nacha left me without warning. Once. Just once. I scanned my surroundings again. So many of them. The kage visible on my sight alone were countless. I had to check each and every one before morning comes. My calls don't seem to reach them, and I can't even touch it to confirm. Will I make it in time? A weak thought slipped out. I almost gave in to despair. Yeah. I shake my head and look forward. I just had to do it. Hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of kage seem to pass by, but I'll find Hiori before morning comes. No matter what. That's the promise between you and me. Hiori. Perhaps you don't wish for that anymore, though. Honestly. To get lost like this, in a place like this, in this way, who would have thought? This suddenness, I suppose. It's just like you. Thinking that, I felt my spirits lighten a little. I must. Zettai Hiori. Yeah, Hio-chan. I'll definitely find you. With renewed resolve, I took a step forward. Then,
あれ？
a voice came from behind me. It was a familiar voice.
タイガー？こんなところで何やってるの？
When I turned around, there was a small child tilting their head. Toya. And next to them was a girl holding Toya's hand. I see. It seems they're still undecided about what next they'll be reborn into. That's why they're still here with me like this. Good. A little. Just a little bit of hope became visible. Oto-san and Oka-san. Touchy. Everyone loves their child. The world within the picture book repeatedly taught me that. Though Tosa and Oka-san appeared, when they opened the pages, always embraced their children with gentle smiles. I wish I could be treated that way too, but I wish I could be hugged. But
この世界で幸せを得たいのなら、相応の何かを差し出さなきゃならない。覚えておくんだよ。それがあんたの生まれた世界のルールだ。
those words always swirled in my heart. What should I do? Tosan, Ka-san, what could I possibly offer to be loved by them? I thought and thought and thought. I tried drawing their portraits with crayons. In storybooks, a child drew a portrait for their Ka-san's Tanjobi and smiled, saying, Omedetou Tanjobi. They'll be hugged tightly by their beloved Oka-san. I wonder if I could be treated that way too. That's what I thought, so... But they didn't even glance at it. It wasn't enough for me to be loved by them. A portrait wasn't enough. This time, I made an origami crane with paper. I found in the mansion and showed it to them. Lots of them, because a storybook had told me that if you fold 1,000 cranes, your wish will come true. I was told. How carefree. You're lucky, playing all day long. You seem to know nothing of hardship. I was happy, very. It was the first time they had spoken to me. To have them speak to me, all I had to do was fold 1,000 origami cranes and give it to them. That was the appropriate price. My young self wanted to believe that and felt at ease. The next time they came to see me, I'd make an even more difficult origami for them to see. That's what I thought, and I worked hard, but... Next, they brought a girl. The girl had a face just like mine. Who is that girl? I asked Tosan and Ka-san. That she is my Futago. My Obacha I always lived with answered in their place. I didn't know. It seemed I had a sister. Shimai. Only that day was I allowed to play origami with my sister. My sister made a crane, but it wasn't very good. I felt a little proud. Mite, Tosan, Okasan, I folded well. But they only smiled at my sister. My sister smiled contently and then gave me a gentle smile too. I thought, how cute. Beautiful clothes and shiny, well-groomed hair. I've been wearing the same kimono all this time, and my wear had grown wild. Even though it was the same face, it looked like something completely different to me. There are conditions to being loved in this world. Mokasan hugged my sister and said, "This child gives us so much cuteness to be loved by us, but tell me, what will you give us? Dirty, shabby, not even cute." I couldn't believe I was born to be loved by them. We came here to confirm that, but it seems you truly have nothing. Mokasan, Otosan, and sister laughed. That's why I decided to offer you up. After that, my Otosan and Okasa never came to the mansion again. The Neko, who are the creatures of the Yoru, each possess special powers. Fuyutsuki Toya could show the future up to about 10 seconds ahead, only to the human she designated. Could I borrow that power to find Hiori? Tatoeba, before I tried to touch Akage's shoulder, I could use Toya's power and see the Mirai beyond that. 10 seconds should be enough to tell if that choice was correct or not. If it's wrong, I'll try it again with a different Kage. If I keep repeating it that way, won't I eventually find the right answer? I explained the situation to Toya and asked if I could borrow her power.
それはいいよ。
Toya nodded, but
またチューしなきゃダメってことだよね。それもお友達の前で。
she said softly, then looked down. Her cheeks were bright red.
それにね、タイガ、こんなにいっぱい命の影はいるんだよ。一人一人試していたら、それこそ朝になっちゃうよ。
You're right about that. Even so, I had to do it. I can't think of any other alternative, so I'm sorry, Toya. I know it's a really difficult thing, but I really need to ask you. Toya still had a troubled expression as I said that.
とっても恥ずかしいけど、タイガのことお手伝いするのはいいよ。全然いい。私、タイガやひよりちゃんの役に立ちたいって思うよ。でも
Looking up at me, Toya said,
でもね、タイガ、私の力にも制限があるんだよ。タイガがひよりちゃんの肩に触れられるのが1回だけって決まってるみたいに。
Hesitantly, Toya said only 10 times and nodded.
私の力はね、1回の夜の中で10回きりなの。
So
私がタイガに好きな人間にね、未来を見せてあげられるのは一晩のうちに10秒だけなの。10回っていうのは1回1秒ずつ使った時のことだよ。
You know what? It's kind of weird this nerd just suddenly showed up conveniently. What I need to consider right now here is, how many seconds will it take per attempt for me to touch a Kage and determine it's the right one or not? Tatoeba, I touch the Kage's shoulder. The Kage turns around. Its silhouette rapidly glows, and I understand who it is. Could I completely Can I complete that entire process in just 1 second? Well, Muri. 1 second is definitely not enough to know if it's the right one or not with a single future vision. Even if I try to estimate as short as possible, wouldn't it take 4 or 5 seconds? If that's the case, I should assume I can only rely on Toya's power at least at a maximum of twice. With only 2 chances against a Throng of Kage, I had to pick the right one. Muri. That word echoed within me again. There's no way I can achieve something like that. The hands of the clock tower I looked up at indicated the morning was approaching with every passing moment. How can I get Otosa no Kasa and tell me they love me? One night, I asked my Oba-chan, with whom I live, that very question. If I could become as kawaii as my Nesan, we'll just say Nesan, we'll assume that she's older, would they hug me too? I filled the large tatami room with paper cranes. A picture book taught me, full 1,000 origami cranes, and the wish comes true. Whether it was a charm or a prayer, I think I tried everything that supposedly granted wishes. I wanted to be cherished. I wanted the people I cared about to cherish me just as much. Oba-chan still made a displeased face at me, but that day was different from usual. For some reason, my Oba-chan made me beautiful. Cute clothes, neatly styled hair. Reflected in the mirror I peered into was someone who looked exactly like my imoto, Onesan, beloved by Otosan and Okasan.
今日からあんたはあの子になるんだ。
My Oba-chan frowned as she spoke Onesan's name.
本当に私はバカね。言い伝え通りにしていれば少なくともしばらくは安泰だっただろうに。
My Oba-san scrunched up her face again, as if the words she uttered were unbearably bitter.
行きましょう。
Doko e iru? I asked.
幸せと不幸せとを交換するんだ。
Led by Oba-chan's hand, I stepped outside the mansion for the first time since I was born. Holding Oba-chan's hand, I got on the densha. Oba-chan said our destination was Otosan and Otosan's house. The town they lived in was 3 stations away. Passing 3 stations was quick. In the short time the densha carried me to our destination station, Oba-chan taught me many things. It was a long time ago. They say Sakura covered this town entirely. A strange disaster, beautiful in a way. The story of the girls who risked their lives in their hardship and saved this town. The story of those poor girls forced into such a fate by cruel adults. The story that I was the descendant of those girls.
そして私らは遠い昔少女たちを残酷な方法で桜の木の下に埋めた大人たちの末裔だ。
Among the girls, there were quite a few who deeply hated the adults. It's a noroi. Oba-chan said our bloodline is still bound by the girls' noroi and living.
その少女たちは特別だったんだよ。命を捧げられた誰もがみんな思い描いたものをすべて現実化できてしまう。そんな特別な想像力を持つものばかりだった。
That's what the densetsu said.
その子らの呪詛を恐れた大人たちは、私らの先祖たちは誓ったんだ。未来永劫、少女らの家系を陰ながら支え続けると。そうすることで少女に許しを請うたんだ。だから私らの家は少女らの血筋であるお前たちの家系には本家であろうと分家であろうと決して逆らうことができない。
And such an absolute family precept has been continually passed down.
もしも少しでも誓いをたがえようものなら、たちまち少女らの呪いによって私たちの血筋は滅ぼされてしまう。女子供も容赦なく呪いによって惨殺される。
Never breaking any command, never defying, risking our lives to continue serving the girl's descendants.
だから私は好きでもないあんたのことを今日までこうして世話してきたんだ。
Obachan spat it out roughly. Even so, our hands remained clasped. And finally I was told why I had been confined and raised in that mansion. In this wide Sanzen town, there are many rumors. One of them is the Yoru no Kuni, created by the girls, where they say something called an immortal being lives. Nightly, such beings abduct poor girls suffering hardships like in the distant past and bestow eternal life. Perhaps the girls once wished for such a thing. Anyone would. They wanted someone to be kind to them. Most of the night beings were born that way. And the night monsters take the poor girls they abducted into their fold and live happily ever after with them.
きっとあんたはその怪物にさらわれた方が幸せだろう。
Obachan said.
あんたがどんなに求めてもあの二人はあんたを愛することなど決してない。その可能性だってみじんもないんだ。あの二人にとってあんたはただ自分たちの願望を叶える道具、手段でしかないからだ。ならばあんたを大切にしてくれるだろう怪物と生きた方がよほどいい。
If the Yoru no Kaibutsu snatched my life, would be taken and offered to Satan, where the girl's heart still sleep. By doing so, Yoru would be maintained forever into the future. That was the Yoru no Kaibutsu's role.
でもそれだけならこのまま屋敷に閉じ込められていればよかった。夜の怪物があんたの寂しい心を嗅ぎつけて、そしてさらいに来るまで待てばいい。
But Obachan said the situation was a little more complex and cruel, because life was like a cruel fairy tale.
だから私はあんたとあんたの妹を
Okay, Imota.
入れ替えることにした。
Do it well, Obachan said.
あんたの妹はもうすでにあんたの代わりにお屋敷の中だ。ああ、そうさ。あの二人がそれに気づくはずもない。その他大勢の大人たちと同じだ。自分たちの目的にしか興味を持てない連中だから。
Tosan, Okasan. The adult's goal was
永遠の命を得ることだ。
Obachan said.
何の才能も持たず生まれてきた自身の子を代償に差し出して夜の怪物から永遠の命を引き出す。そのためにあんたは生まれてから今までずっと夜よりも暗い場所に閉じ込められていた。
Obachan told me, play your part well. You'll deceive them. They lack the eyes or heart to distinguish the real from fake.
忘れるな。親と子だからといってそこに無条件に生まれる愛情だなんてそんなもの愛するための努力なくしてそこに生まれるものは何もないんだ。
Saying that, Obachan squeezed the hand she held with mine tightly. I asked Obachan why would she do such a thing? Switch me and my Imoto. Why would she do that? And Obachan bit her lip and looked down.
あんたの家の者たちは夜の怪物が不死にしたこのことを
The dansha rattled. We had arrived at our destination station. Obachan let only me off at the station.
忘れるな。
Inside the dansha and on the station platform. With the open door between us, Obachan spoke to me.
あんたはバカだ。あんな愛のない両親に愛されたいため可愛くなりたいと願うだなんて。
Obachan reached out, gently touching my cheek.
忘れないで。こんな格好してもしなくてもあんたは十分可愛いわ。
Then, just one last time, Obachan smiled at me.
これでさようなら。あんたのご飯を作るのもあんたのほつれた着物を作ろうのも思えば結構楽しかったわ。ごめんなさい。寂しいあんたにたった一度も優しくしてあげなくて。
I shook my head hard. That's not true. I'm still receiving so much kindness. So much like this. Will we meet again? I tried to ask. But Obachan shook her head too.
これがバレたら私はきっと
The dansha doors closed. Obachan had her eyelids closed through the window. From Doya's lips, I was given 10 seconds into the future. It was a ritual where my friends turned away, and her lips barely grazed my forehead as our eyes met. Just a tiny touch. Toya turned bright red, just like always. She was shyly hopping a little in place. But how should I use the 10-second reprieve I'd been given? I agonized. The Kages passing by seemed to be growing in number. It seemed a large ninja was departing. The Kage were gathering to board it. The Kage who had grown tired of wandering the Yoru. I'm panicking. What if Hiori was among the Kage boarding the Densha? Appeared into each face, checking. But I couldn't find her. I couldn't even tell if it was Hiori or not when trying to confirm the Kage's expressions. This is no good. I can't just stand here dumbfounded. Hiori. I grabbed the shoulder of the Kage in front of me with my left hand. Its silhouette resembles Hiori so much, or so I thought. But that Kage wasn't Hiori. When I touched his shoulder, it turned around and grinned. Hiori's light slipped from the doll I was holding and was sucked into the Kage in front of me. That's when I opened my eyes. The Kage resembling Hiori that was passing in front of me just now. That was the future 4 seconds from now, where I touched his shoulder. I didn't choose it. I didn't select that future. As expected, it still takes 4 or even 5 seconds at a time. Of the 10 seconds I got from Toya, only 6 seconds remain. I had to use my power carefully and surely. I told myself that, but it's no use. That was no good. The second time was the same. The shadow I touched was a completely different person. This time it was a bit faster, only used about 3 seconds. But no matter what, I couldn't choose it. I bit my lip and opened my eyes at the scene 3 seconds later.
ごめんね、タイガー。役に立てなくて。
Toya was next to me, looking dejected. Her friend quietly held her hand, comforting her. No, that's not true. Arigato, Toya. Certainly, I might not have gotten a result, but I'm happy for the feelings Toya showed me. The heart that feels that way is real. At least, that's what I think. So I don't want to become an adult who doesn't even try to hide their bad mood just because there's stress. That's what I think. So I thank Toya once more, and then I think again. What should I do? There's no more time. Only about 3 seconds of future sight remain. I might be able to try one more time. Just barely. But I didn't think I could definitely find the right answer with that. And the next thing this left hand touches isn't Hiori. It's sayonara. Hiori and I would have to say goodbye forever without knowing why we're in this situation or why what Hiori's feeling. Under such pressure, all I could do was stare back and forth between my left and the Nino containing Hiori's light. This is no good. I can't just stand here forever. I had to brace myself. Suddenly, a Kage passed before my eyes. It resembles Hiori, or so I think. I reached out my left hand. The Kage stopped and turned around. An expression dyed pitch black. I couldn't even discern the color of its eyes. Was this the right choice or the wrong one? Will I regret this a few seconds from now, or will I be shedding tears, holding someone precious in my arms? Why is this happening? Why is life always something that cannot be redone? I don't even know who to blame. With the tip of my outstretched left hand, I tried to touch the Kage. 3 seconds left. I'll use my last future vision. That's when it happened. The device in my pocket started ringing, as if sensing my predicament. Alright, let's see what kind of ass bull they have right now. I knew what I was doing was something wrong. My bacha said that in my futago, and I switched places. No one would notice, but that's impossible. There's no way it wouldn't be found out. The Yoru no Kaibutsu that truly exists, not just as a rumor. It might have sensed somehow that it was about to come to abduct me. Me, who was trapped in the mansion, accumulating only lonely thoughts. That's why it might have forcibly created a reason to take me out of the mansion. Only now can I envision such a possibility. Long ago, my Obachan's Gosenzo sacrificed innocent girls simply for having a slightly different power of Sozoryoku. They said that the atonement for that time was still ongoing, even after hundreds, even thousands of years, and that's why the lives of the family descended from those girls must be protected, even at the cost of one's own life. But the hearts of the girl offered to the Sakura still live on within the Yoru. And among them, the hearts of several girls who harbor hatred for adults was also mixed in. Deep in our hearts, as descendants of those girls, and their negative Yoru emotions seeped into the Yoru. Tatameba. You don't even have to step into the Yoru. I just have to keep living a fun, interesting life, even as I grow up. That's my wish, Nagai. Driven by the desire for eternal life, they even tried to offer their own child to the Yoru no Kaibutsu. Things like that. That emotion can turn into a special talent, power, and quite a few kids manifested through the Yoru. There were times when our Gosenzo, following the parents' orders, had to handle the children roughly.
これがバレたら、私はきっと。
The last words my Obachan spoke just wouldn't leave my head. Right up until the Saigo Sayonara, I always find myself thinking over and over about all the words Obachan used to tell me.
私は本当の人でなしの家系に生まれた。
Obachan used to say that, deep inside my chest, a place so very deep, the ache never quite fades, should draw those long, steady breaths as she spoke.
私たちの遠い先祖は女子供もいとわず殺した。自分たちの恐怖心を鎮めたいという願望を満たすためだけに。でもそんなのはあくまでも先祖の悪行だ。どんなに先祖があるいは両親が聞くに耐えない猟奇的な行為に及んでいたとしても、今現在を生きている私には関係のない話かもしれない。だって私が殺したわけじゃない。
It's not like I chose to be born carrying a murderer's blood.
だから遠い自分の命が関われないようなあんまりにも遠い過去の話をいつまでもずっと持ち出されたところで実感だって本来ならわかないし。
On the contrary, a spark of anger starts to flare. What the hell am I supposed to do? Being told to die for murder when I haven't even killed a soul. That's a glaring lack of equality. It's not equal. Wasn't every life supposed to be equal?
だけど
Obachan looked like she was on the verge of
不
tears.
思議と心にこびりついたままの罪悪感がいつまでも消えてくれず、脈々と私らの心に引き継がれ続けてる。まさしくこれは呪いだよ。そんな重さを少しずつでも下ろしていきたい。 私の子やまたその次の子らの世代にこの重さを残しちゃいけないんだ。だ
I was still
から私たちはお前を助ける。
I was told Oba-chan's clan. Wait, I don't know why I tried to think of what clan means. What's the clan in Japanese? Anyway, some secretly are rescuing girls locked in the dark depths. Ichisoku. Okay, clan is Ichisoku. I just suddenly remembered. Okay. Anyway, I'm one of them myself.
こうすることもまた私たちにとって遠い昔に自分たちの先祖が犯した罪を償うことにつながるのかもしれない。そう考えたんだ。
What irony. Those words suddenly sprouted inside me. Ages ago, my Oba-chan's Ichisoku purged girls with special imaginative gifts. Maybe this is Suzoriku, to bury their own irrational fear. Those adults, my own Gosenzo, their descendants soon had their hearts dragged into the Dasa Yoru. They're heaping the same brutal treatment, once inflicted on their Gosenzo, onto their own children without a second thought. Just like how someone who was abused as a child grows up and ends up doing the same thing to their own kid, pitying the children and wishing to erase generations of guilt. The former predator Ichizoku now seeks to save the girls. Those feelings piled up until, at last, I was rescued. After Oba-chan rescued me, I wandered around the sakura-filled Sanzen town. There's no way I actually have anywhere to go, but I received a small suitcase from my Oba-chan.
この先、もしも困ったことがあったら、この袋を開きなさい。誰の人生にも幾度か大変なことが起こるものだけど、その時その時将来必要になるだろうものを想像していろいろと詰め込んどいた。これがあんたのお守りになるよう祈ってる。
Among the various items inside, I found the chisu. When I opened it, there was a red circle drawn in a pen. Is this where Odosa no Kasan lived? But I couldn't read the chisu. I was still so small. But whether I could read it or not, the chisu was never useful. Two of them, Odosan and Okasan. It seemed they had been searching all over town for my lost Imoto. As I stood dumbfounded in front of the station, Ikimai, a desperate voice called out to me. My name was called. My Imoto's name. That was now the name I was called by. I was so worried. Tosan hugged me tightly. Yokatta. Buji. I forgot. You're safe. Okasan hugged me. And so, holding hands, we went home. Otosa and Okasan spoke to me with a gentle smile I had never seen before. You must be hungry, Okasan said. Today, it's Okasan's homemade kare, Otosan said. It felt like a dream. Otosan and Okasan gazed at me with smiles. It was just as Oba-chan said. I felt that as long as I didn't mess up, they wouldn't see through the truth. It was complicated, but I also felt relieved.
二度と屋敷には戻ってくるな。
Oba-chan's voice spoke to me on the densha, echoed in my mind.
お前はこれからお前の妹として幸せに生きるんだ。いいな。生きることに遠慮なんてしちゃダメだぞ。そうでなければ最後の瞬間、実は後悔まみれの人生だったと気づくことになる。
I should have done that then. If I had done this, my life might have been completely different.
そんな最後を迎えることだけはないように、思うまま、感じるままに、自由に生きろ。いいな。約束だぞ。もしも約束を守らなかったその時は、妹のために罪悪感なんて抱いたりして、屋敷に戻ってきたりした。その時は。
Both of you will lose your lives. What kind of face was Obacha making when she said that to me, holding my hand on the densha? No matter how much time passed, that was the one thing I could never clearly remember.
タイガー、今こそ正しい魔法を選ぶ時だよ。
Pressing the call button in the vibrating device in my pocket, a question was thrown at me, cutting out my greeting.
探しても探しても見つからない。選びたい未来をつかめない。悩み迷うだけの時間さえももうない。
When cornered in such moments, people often give up and forget their negai, but, however, for a select few, the will of someone who always whispers, "Don't give up," by their side is there with them. It is precisely such feelings that always bring about Kiseki. The voice I heard from my ear said so.
だから一緒に魔法を想像しよう。タイガー、私はもう準備はできてる。
What about you? Kuro's voice, encouraging my courage. Yuki, in that way, reaches me. I readjusted the device to my other ear and said, どうして Kuro? どうして how did you know that I was in trouble right now? I end up asking something so irrelevant now. I probably just wanted to buy a little more time to think.
わかるよ。
Kuro says,
君のことなら何でもわかる。今君がどんなことを考えているのかも、どんな魔法が必要だと感じているのかも。
What kind of maho do I wish for? Even I can't clearly articulate it, but... 俺は... I want to find Hiori. I want to find Hiori, who might have wandered into the Yoru. Because I want to believe that the promise Hiori and I exchanged, Yakusoku. So I try to put the feeling swirling in my chest into words. In the near and yet distant Yoru, if Hiori has wandered in there, I want to find Hiori. I want to go and get Hiori. I close my eyelids, and then I think. The maho, the kiseki, that would brilliantly solve the problem before me right now. What form would it take? What effects would it have? Next to my silent ear, I could feel Kuro's presence, also holding her breath and keeping silent. She was trying to align her thoughts with mine, and that's what I felt. Kuro. Orewa. Suddenly I found myself speaking the form of Maho I had envisioned.
わかった。
Kuro's voice came.
君は今、そういう魔法が必要だと思い描くんだね。
It happened the moment Kuro said that. I felt a cold weight in my left hand. I opened my eyelids. Then what was in my palm was a handgun. It was without a doubt a handgun. Its form was so far from the maho sozo, yet felt so close, leaving me utterly bewildered.
魔法を使うその前に
It was Kuro's voice. Was it my imagination? Her voice sounded a little distant.
代償を決めよう
Price. To me, repeating that came Kuro's voice saying, "That's right."
タイガも知っている通り夜の中で何かを得るのなら相応の何かを差し出す必要がある
Otherwise, the safety on the maho wouldn't disengage. Kuro had said so. If you gain maho, a price is necessary. It's a simple matter. But precisely because it's simple, many things in this world aren't easy. The price, equivalent to the maho, I saw this. I think. But almost without hesitation, the answer came to me. From now on, I'll inherit something like Hiori's tendency to get lost. That, perhaps, from now on, my wandering wouldn't just be about the path before me, but life itself. I want to choose the worst possible way to die. It meant I would carry this feeling, which I could never shake off as a child, until the day I died. Why did I harbor such a thought? Even if I forgot all the reasons why. My heart judged that to find Hiori from the Yoru tonight, the maho I envisioned required an equivalent price. I heard the safety on the maho disengage.
さあ準備はすべて整った
Kuro said if I fully understood what I'd lose and the shackles I'll bear for the Kiseki, then I'll pull the trigger.
その先には多分私は一緒に行けないけれど
Huh? What do you mean? As I asked, I Kuro let out a small sigh and spoke.
ごめんねタイガ
Huh?
こうして電話越しでじゃなくすぐそばで一緒に手をつないでいろいろね二人で思い描けたらもっと強い魔法になったのかもでもごめんタイガ私は今君の隣に駆けつけられない
Kuro. I tried calling her name, but only silence returned. Gomen, I should have asked any more, I thought. I also no longer had the time to listen to Kuro speak any further. I'll use that maho. I steel myself. Just as Kuro said, the maho I imagined without you by my side might not be complete. It might end up being half-baked. Even so, I knew I had to steel myself. I have a yume I must fulfill. Therefore, this is definitely the right thing to do, even if I forget it now. When I return from this Yoru, Kuro, could we talk again? There are things I want you to hear, all sorts of things. If that happens, I can feel at ease. I intend to convey that feeling.
そうだね
Because you answered like that.
タイガ待ってるよ今度は君が私に電話してきてくれるのずっと待ってる
So I'll use the maho without worry. Looking forward to talking with you like this again, once Hiori's safely back and everything is resolved. I cocked the hammer of the handgun. I pointed the muzzle at the ground. I aimed it at my feet. Ima, from here on, it's the Mahout Sky's time. I whispered that and set up a spell. This is the Maho to find Hiori, praying and wishing for it to be so. It's a Giseki I pulled from my heart. Gritting my teeth, I pulled the trigger. I wander. Having lost my life, and giving all the time I had to the previous person I wished to reclaim from the Yoru. Becoming a Kage that only sought happy memories. I became something like many kage, overflowing the yoru. I suddenly stopped and looked up at the yozara, softly fluttering. The sakura danced like snow flakes. Ne, na, kami-sama. Oshiete, was my nagai granted? Did my yume blossom into reality? The heart I sacrificed for it? Na, kami-sama. Was it not in vain? I could never lead the yoru again because I had no heart. The real world is no place to live for those without a heart. So now, I have no way to know what I want to know. Was the person I wish to reclaim able to be reborn properly in the real world? Since then, after being rescued by Obachan, after switching places to live with my Futago, and after coming to live with the two who loved me without realizing I wasn't me, with Otosan and Okasan, until today I continue to live without issue. I went to school. I laughed with friends. My heart softened with warm meals every day. My birthday was celebrated with a sweet cake. Omedeto Tanjobi, written in chocolate letters. And my imoto's namae. A few days later, I received news that my swap imoto had been abducted by the Yoru no Kaibutsu and lost her life. I stole all my imoto's place. It's guilt, even though that was originally supposed to be my fate. But without being able to tell the truth for a long time, I grew up as Otosan and Okasan's precious daughter. I thought that guilt will disappear someday. But it's no good. As my mind and body grew, the feeling grew stronger and larger. I don't belong here. Sleepless nights continued. What happens to people when they die? I spent more time pondering that.
この先、もしも困ったことがあったら、この袋を開きなさい。
Suddenly, that nostalgic voice resurfaced in my bed.
誰の人生にも、幾度か大変なことが起こるものだけど、その時その時、将来必要になるだろうものを想像していろいろと詰め込んどいた。これがあんたのお守りになるよう祈ってる。
I sprang from bed and pulled the storied item from my drawer and examined its contents. Anything to stem the growing guilt. Could there not be a way to escape this feeling, wrapped within the small bag? I found a Nikki. It was a small Nikki. Within it, various things about the town's Yoru were written. A method to retrieve a loved one within the Yoru. I found a page marked with such an entry. So, that's why tonight I decided to embark on the journey. To retrieve you, my precious one. And now I have finished my journey. Actually, I had intended to offer the heart of the person who came with me to the very end of the Yoru as price for my nagai to the Yoru, but if I had done such a thing, my guilt would only grow larger. So I decided to offer my own heart to the Yoru. This choice produced neither regret nor guilt, but merely cut out my heart from within me. So this is fine. This was for the best. Even if it's lonely, even if it's sad, at least I could meet my end without despising myself. All that remains is what next I will choose. I was only hesitating over the last choice left for this life. The Maho I imagined to retrieve Hiori from within the Yoru. It was a way to find the correct answer. Hiori among the many Kage passing by. I believe that the scene I felt was the best for that purpose is this. I pulled the trigger. From the muzzle pointed at my feet, excessively flashy sparks erupted in that moment. As if the Yoru's time had stopped, all movement around me ceased. No, not like that, it stopped. The rustling, noisy scenery around me, the Kage passing by, the second hand of the clock tower I looked up at, had all come to a complete halt, and the ground I shot through turned pitch black. Their footprints. The ground stained in jet black. I imagined Hiori's footprints there, lighting up as small lights, rising to the surface. If I follow that, I should be able to reach Hiori's shadow. This was the limit of my Sozoriku. This was the result of searching for Hiori and praying for time to stop, if only for a moment. But, yeah, deep down, I had somewhat imagined and anticipated this outcome. Hiori's footsteps were nowhere to be found. That means Hiori isn't here. My one-shot magic failed to find Hiori. It vanished from my palm. 3 seconds. As I muttered that, it was exactly right. The time of the future sight given by Toya was ending. I quietly opened my eyelids. The scene I had just witnessed was the remaining time given by Toya, a future sight 3 seconds ahead. My Maho can only be used once. The revolver-type handgun I clutched only had one bullet loaded that could activate Maho. That's why I wanted to know what kind of nature my Maho possessed. Through Toya's remaining power, I tried to confirm that scene. What I learned was 2 results. The scene of the Maho and the Hiori wasn't here right now. I believe. I muttered that to myself. The Maho I envisioned with Kuro. But because it was over the Denwa, we couldn't share our thoughts side by side. It might be incomplete. Kuro said that, but this Maho that she gave her okay for, I believe I can definitely shoot through reality. I'll try it somewhere else. A shadow tends to seek out happy times we had in life, trying to return to places of memory. If that's the case, where would Hiori try to go? The amusement park. Suddenly that thought sprouted in my mind. It's the place where Hiori and I made the yakusoku long ago. Hiori will be waiting there. As if. It feels like I'm being overly self-conscious thinking such things. That Hiori would still cherish her yakusoku with me even after death. How can I be so sure? That Kibo was far too unreliable. But that's the only thing I can think of. The moment Hiori felt happy when she was alive. The moment she would even wish to return to. I felt pathetic, unable to say with certainty that it was definitely here and unable to find it.
Taiga, どうするの?
Poya said.
朝が来るまであとちょっとだよ.
You're right. The clock tower told me there were only a few 10 minutes left until morning.
列車そろそろ出ちゃうみたい.
Toya was pointing at the timetable and said that the densha for the night amusement park would depart soon. The bell jingled. It was a signal that the densha would depart in 1 minute. If I head to the amusement park now and Hiori isn't there, it's over. There wouldn't be enough time to come back here again before morning. If that happens, we'll never meet again. Toya.
何?
If you don't mind, I'd like you to pray with your friends. What I'm about to choose isn't wrong. That it's something I'll never regret when my final moment eventually comes. I'll try going to the amusement park. I don't know if Hiori will be there, but it's as pathetic as it gets, and I can't have any certainty, but I'll be happy if you could pray that this choice isn't wrong. I handed the niño to Toya. It's insurance for if I was wrong. I want you to get this to Nana-chan.
わかった。
Toya nodded.
知ってる？タイガ。
何？
いつでも私たちはね、祈ってるよ。タイガの夢が叶いますようにって。タイガの人生の中で誰より何より一番幸せになれますようにって。
Toya says, don't forget me.
タイガのこと私たちはずっと応援してるんだよ。
Because little Toya says that to me with much more mature expression than usual. Huh, that's right. You're a far, far more of an innocent than I am. The fact that I can think that feels a little strange, and me too. I stroke Toya's head and say, I'm praying to you that you and your friend can spend a much more wonderful future together than now. I'm heading out.
いってらっしゃい。
Toya and her friend both waved goodbye to me.
お姉ちゃんと一緒に夢の寝床で待ってるよ。タイガ、絶対日和ちゃんを連れて戻ってきてね。
I nodded and turned my back. I wouldn't search the station grounds anymore. I headed for the night amusement park. Please, let this choice be the right one. I prayed that countless times. I boarded the densha, but Gomen, Kuro, Toya. Let me get straight to the point. Hiori wasn't at the amusement park. The densha took me to the amusement park earlier that morning. There, I used the magic bullet, Maho no Dangan. I used a single Kiseki, but I couldn't find Hiori's sweatdress nor her Kage. There were no more densha to the terminal station at the time. It's no use. I can't give up. I shouldn't be able to give up. I ran along the tracks to return to the Ekimai. But even if I could reach Ekimai by morning, I couldn't say for certain that Hiori would be somewhere there. Those feelings became a weight, and before I knew it, I stopped running and looked up at the sky. The night breaks. It's morning. I closed my eyelids. My palms were empty. Only the price of the Maho remained. I'm lost. The cost of using Maho. I'm then wandering the Yodo forever. Did a single tear roll down my cheek out of loneliness, knowing I can't see Hiori anymore? Or was it fear of being unable to return to the outside world? I don't really know. A bell rang. I gasped and looked up. Having offered my life to the Yoru, I was cowering in the corner of a giant station with nowhere to go. The bell rang again. Wait, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. The bell rang again. It was the bell announcing the final departure. The sound of steam dyed the surroundings white. The hard clang of steel wheels sliding along the tracks. Shaking the Yodo air, I watched a single densha car depart. Who boarded that densha and with what dots? I too must choose my next soon. Many of the Shadow Kage will likely chase after the happy times of their lives, forever wandering the Yoru. But I can't. I can't choose such happy times. Because there isn't even a single second in this life that I can consider happy. Enough. I want to let go of myself. I wish to quickly be reborn to the next and return the soul into a blank slate, so blank that I can no longer remember ever being myself. And in that next life, reborn, I pray that there will be at least one time, even just for a moment, when I can feel truly happy. But what's wrong with me? I feel so tired. I can't move an inch from here. Dareka, I want someone to come for me, even like this. I realize only now that such a wish exists within me, but there's no one to come for me. Nowhere. This is the ending of my life. I even wish to stay here, cowering like this forever, but
あんた、こんなところで何やってるんだ？
I heard a voice. I looked up.
幸せと不幸せと交換するんだって言っただろ？それなのに、なんでお前はそんな神気臭い顔をしてるんだ？
It was Obachan, the one who pulled me from the depths of darkness and gave me freedom. So much time had passed since then. Obachan stood before me, her face unchanged from all those years ago.
お前は幸せに生きたのか？
She had been waiting for me here, just to ask me that question. She waited for the day I would exhaust my life's time and meet her again, here in the Yoru. It was Obachan's Kage, a Nagai that had taken form. She must have paid a considerable price to grant this wish. I realized she had waited for me, going to such lengths.
それをこうしてあんたに直接確認できれば、もう私の人生に未練はないって思えた。何せこの命に変えてでもお前のことをあの屋敷から連れ出したんだ。幸せに生きていてくれないと、とてもじゃないが納得できないからな。
Oh no, man. Damn. Shrugging, Obachan said,
なあ、どうなんだ？あんたはもう思い残すことも何もないってくらいに、このバカみたいなことばかり起こる人生を嫌になるくらい生きて生き抜いてこれたのか？
Would you ask me that? No. I couldn't not. Feeling sadness, even for myself, I wept. Thanks to you, I thought I could be happy. But I lost the life of someone precious to me. I just couldn't give up on that person. That's why, Obachan, I tried the method to retrieve a loved one from the Yoru that you gave me.
そうか。
Obachan narrowed her eyes.
だったらなぜ他の適当な誰かを犠牲にしなかった？どうしてお前は自分の命を夜にくべてしまったんだ？こんなことを言うと反感を覚えるような連中もいるだろうけど、見ず知らずの誰かが犠牲になるくらいのことで、お前が幸福に生きていけるなら、私は戸惑わずそうしてしまえと言える。
Her blunt words made me let out a wry smile. I tried to, but I couldn't, because I realized that person was precious to me.
来い。
Oma-chan held out her hand to me as I crouched there.
お前が取り戻したいと願った命。お前はもうその子とは触れられないし、当然お前のその声だってその子へ届くことはないだろうけれど。だけどな、お前が救った命がちゃんと幸せに生きていけるのか。それをそばで見守ることくらいはできる。そしていつか、いや、今この瞬間、その子が乗り越えがたい深い悲しみの底にいたのなら、その困難を乗り越えるために密かに力を貸してやることだってできるはずだよ。
The old woman said that and smiled. A precious person I wish to stay by, even after my life ends. But I'm no longer there. My voice won't reach that person. And of course, I can't touch them either. Even if my precious person is crying all alone, I can't comfort their sorrow, nor can I hold their hand and sleep beside them. What's more, someday, I'll probably be forgotten entirely. When my precious child cries in sorrow, I want to be by their side, unnoticed, grasping their trembling hand I can't even touch. どうか. I want to pray that from the deepest tears of sorrow you shed, someday the most beloved flowers of joy will bloom. And this time, I want to wholeheartedly cheer you on from your side, so your life can be a happy one. I want to lend all my power to you, unstingingly. I want to become such a wonderful being. So, goodbye. I'm going now. I took the old woman's hand. Let us cross many yoru and walk together. From now on, we'll be together forever. We are the dead. This life has reached its end. I reclaim my precious person. Old woman, you to save someone like me. Each of us burn our lives for our own reasons. Therefore, the next life begins. We can choose that path. We held hands and choose to be reborn as new beings living in the night. May my beloved, you end your life happily. I want to witness the moment this wish, this nagai, this yume vividly fulfilled. For that I choose to stay by your side, no matter what form I may take. Now, my precious person is crying at the bottom of deep sorrow. I can hear that voice. Where exactly could this tiny cry be coming from? I strain my ears. If you're sad somewhere, I'll always fly to your side, and I'll burn this life to save you from the depths of darkness. That is my role. I wish to be such a being to the endless fluttering sakura to that yoru. What should I do? I've gotten lost. I can hear a voice. I can't go home alone anymore. You're calling. Please, someone. It's a voice. Someone. I want you to come pick me up. Led by that voice.
見つけた。
I found the place where you were crying alone. Your kage, that was huddled, crying, looked up at me, and light softly returned to that expression.
ナナちゃん。うん、そうだよ。
Because I'm the one who wishes for you to be cherished more than anyone else.
誰より早く こうしてあなたを見つけたかったんだよ、日和。私、夜月日和は一人ぼっちだった。
The people called Okasa and Tosan weren't by my side. Instead, I was raised by Obachan, whose relationship to me I didn't quite understand anymore. Obachan, I didn't even know the names of. So to be precise, maybe I wasn't all alone, but even so, I was still all alone. The Obachans who took care of me changed every 3 months. Just as I was starting to think I might get close to one of them, a different Obachan would come to the house. I don't think being alone is just about having no one by your side. There are people very close by, yet their hearts never reach yours. That too is lonely.
だから私はやっぱり一人ぼっちだった。
The place where I was raised by many Obachans was a large old jinja in Sanzen town within Sakura no Mori. Forest of Sakura. Anyway, when I was so young, I didn't even know who I was. I thought being all alone was normal. But as soon as I gained a sense of self, I learned that being all alone was not normal. Not everyone was raised by unfamiliar Obachans who changed every 3 months. And I also learned that I had someone who was normally called Okasan. It was the closet of the room I was given. There, I found a single maternal and child help handbook.
これって何？
At that time, I asked the Obachan, who was taking care of me. It's something a woman receives when she becomes an Okasan. The one who told me that was an Obachan who was always just cleaning the shrine grounds. I'm sorry. I'm not good at cooking, she'd say, smiling tearfully. I'm just an Obachan who can only clean. That Obachan told me, I think that handbook is what your Okasan received when she was pregnant with you. Because the room you're using was also your Okachan's room.
お母さん。
What kind of person was my Okasan? I asked the old woman. The old woman who had been sweeping the thin layer of petals in the shrine grounds with a bamboo broom, paused her hands and said, Gomenne. She said, Hiori, you had an Okasan. That notebook was likely received by your Okasan when she conceived you, but... The person who was supposed to become my Okasan? She continued, Hiori, you were a light that truly shouldn't have been born into this world, but your Okasan embarked on a journey to claim you. But she never came back. I am young. I probably didn't fully understand the meaning of the old woman's words, but I knew that she was talking about something very important. My stomach rumbled, even though I just ate lunch a moment ago. The salmon noodles the old woman who's not good at cooking boiled for me. I ate a lot. But when I'm having a difficult conversation, it quickly ends up like this. Hiori, you're always hungry, and get lost quickly because your Okasan scrambled to make you in the yoru.
私を作る。
Not gave birth to me, but created me. I had many questions, but it was then for the first time that I learned I also had someone I could call my Okasan.
あなたのお母さんをこの列車に乗せたことがあるよ。
Nana-chan said,
この街で死んだ人間は夜の中で必ず私と出会うことになる。そして私はあなたたちの命が次へと進むための手助けをする。だから私のお母さんとナナちゃんは会ったことがある？
Nana-chan didn't say yes, nor did she nod. She just kept her gaze fixed downwards.
私のお母さん、どんな人だった？
Whenever I meet someone who knew my Okasan, I always repeated the same question. I had hoped that tonight, at the end of this journey through the Yoru, I would finally learn the answers I've been asking so many people.
お母さん、私のこと何か言ってた？そうだね。
She said, her gaze fixed on the jet black denture window.
言ってたよ。いっぱい。あなた たのお母さんはあなたのことばかり話してた。
Do you want to know about your Okasan? Nana-chan says.
知りたい。
I speak. But my Okasan.
この世に生まれることのないはずだった私を夜の中から取り戻してくれたんだもん。自分の命と引き換えにして。そうだよね。おばあさんから聞いたよ。だから私は。
Okasan. I wish to reclaim you. Your very self. But it's a method you use. Because the maho we all gained when we took down the Yoru no O 10 years ago couldn't grant this wish.
教えて、ナナちゃん。
The Chisai no Yoru no Kami-sama of the Sakura Grove.
私は大切な人を取り戻すことができたのかな。この命を夜の桜に捧げることで願いを夢を叶えることができたのかな。
Because I can no longer get out of the bottom of the Yoru. Because of that, I can no longer learn anything about the outside world.
だからせめて私は私のお母さんのことを知りたいなって思うんだよ。
Nana-chan slowly closed her eyes. And then, Mokashi no Makashi. She began as if she were recounting a very short fairy tale. Hiori's Okasan, Mitsuki, was fated from the moment of her birth to live a life that could hardly be called happy. Here in the Sakura Grove, Sanzen town, there exists a mysterious time known as the Hyoru no Kuni.
ここがどのようにして生まれたのかは今のところは誰にもわからないけれど、ここには外の世界にはないものがすべてある。
There is such a thing as maho. There's kiseki. Toki is something you can forget exactly because there's just so much of it. I can't even hold all the yume and kibo I have.
だけどここには外の世界にあるものの多くが存在しない。
That world kept rescuing the hearts of the people living in this town, night after night, protecting them from the harsh reality they face.
あなたたちはいつか大人になって私たちの夜を忘れてしまう生き物だけれど、
But then, Nana-chan says,
眠りにつけばいつだって誰だって一晩だけだけど、また夜の中に生まれることができる。そういう夢を見ることができる。
On days when things feel too hard, turn in just a little early. A gentle, dazzling Yoru world that softly cradles your heart is always waiting for you. Nana-chan said that if she were singing a song,
そんな風にして人々の心を守る夜の国。だけどここでは何かを得るなら同等の価値ある何かを差し出さなければならない。そういう規則だ。だからこの国をずっとずっと先の未来へと維持し守り続けていくためにも相応の代償が必要だった。
that price was thought to be the girls' lives. So for generations upon generations, countless lives were
そう
sacrificed.
いう代償を支払い続けることで夜は存在を保ち続け、花は枯れることなく咲き続けていく。そういう風に信じられてた。
The Yorutsuki Jinja enshrines the biggest sakura in town. That sakura holds the sleeping hearts of countless girls. The heart alone still lives on, never fading to this day. They say she still dreams at the bottom of the Yoru, The girls Yume become the Yoru no Kuni, so the legend goes. Densetsu goes. Hiori's Okasan is a descendant of those girls' bloodline, which means I'm one too. Tsukuyo Yorotsuki Hiori is here, carrying the lives of countless young women, whose lives were cruelly snuffed out long ago. Girls who sleep at night. Yorotsuki. Okay, makes sense. Yorotsuki. Okay. They said a special child from that bloodline would one day imagine the Yoru no Kuni. Such a legend Densetsu had taken shape. That child would sozo the Yoru no Kuni in a distant future. And then the world once born into being appears beside us in every era. Someone was always whispering to me that the Yoru no Kuni was mankind's kibo. That's why keeping our own lives alive like this without letting them die out ties directly into protecting the world and the future of all humanity.
夜の国は夜に眠る少女たちの見る夢でできている。
That's Sakura, the one holding a role like the coffin the girls who sleep at night. We had to keep offering young lives there, lives that were yume. Only by doing so could the girls who sleep at night go on dreaming. By doing so, the Yoru no Kuni can continue to exist.
そのために適する命は寂しい思いをいっぱい抱えた少女の命だった。
I yearn to be loved, yet no one longs for love, gives it to me. These children carry such loneliness within their Okasan and Otosan. Those are the kids who have been abandoned by people like them, betrayed and forced to sorrow. The girls who sleep at night, keep sleeping in the Yoru, betrayed by loved ones.
とにかくね、いつか人類の未来を救う役割を再び担うだろう夜の国。その存在を決して絶やしてはならないと大人たちは誓い合っていた。そのために選ばれるかわいそうな女の子たち。そのうちの一人があなたのお母さんだった。夜より暗い外の世界。そこに小さくとも光を灯せることのできる才能を日和たちの血筋の大人は欲してた。期待通りのそれを持たずに生まれてきてしまったために。
My Okasan, her so-called life was chosen as nothing more than a sacrifice to sustain the Yoru no Kuni, never even given a name. But that fate was pitied by a guardian who rescued her, at the cost of her Futaga's life.
あなたのお母さんはね、最後まで罪悪感を抱いたまま生きていた。
By the way, in case you just didn't notice, the whole setup with the Toya storyline was like a setup with the story structure that they were going to do with Hiori's story. So it's a parallel thing going on. Anyway, if you didn't notice what's going on right now. Anyway, the Yoru of the guilt always ruins my happiness. She always said, someone like me doesn't deserve to be happy or forgiven. I snatched this new life away from the place where my Imoto used to belong. The love I got from my Okase and Otosan was directed at me. Yet it absolutely wasn't. Whenever I find myself in that kind of scene, my heart grinds and aches. I couldn't tell her the truth. Once I give voice to it, what will happen to the Obasan who saved me? Realizing that made me unable to say or do anything.
だけどね、下ろすことのできない重荷を心に背負ったままのあなたのお母さんもね、ようやく幸せを得られるかというところまで来たの。
Nanchan says as if she's telling her own story. She got married. Her marriage partner wasn't exactly someone she loved. The Orotsky family was in decline, and by accepting the second son of a wealthy family, they sought to gain support and somehow prolong their existence.
現代では耳にすることもない。まるでファンタジーな話だけれど。
That's just how those times were. It wasn't as grand a story as a political marriage, though. I didn't particularly harbor any resentment about it. While she accepted the marriage without love, she couldn't live out an ideal of loving just one person for her entire life. I thought that was a little lonely, but that was all. I was convinced it wasn't unhappy. It was an unhappy thing at all. Wait, I'm a little confused. Are they switching? Suddenly, we're now in the perspective of. I'm confused. Did we switch perspectives just now? What the hell? I can't. I know that we're already at a point where the MLT is kind of like probably messing up, but I can't tell if, because the previous context was we were Hiori and now we're her Okasan Mitsuki. I'm confused. I felt guilty about being loved by my parents. I wanted to leave home as soon as possible, but I was still only in my early teens. I was too much of a child to live on my own, so this offer was, in a way, a godsend. I soon became pregnant. It was then, for the first time, I felt the guilt I carried and the persistent loneliness I couldn't shake become infinitesimally small. I learned that this feeling was called happiness. My heart was still so immature that I didn't even understand something like that.
膨らみ始めたお腹を撫でて思ってた。
What kind of path this child would walk? What kind of adult they would become? Just thinking I could watch their growth by their side, just imagining such a future, made my chest flutter uncontrollably. But still,
分かってた。
I had stolen too much happiness from my imoto, so it wasn't particularly strange for Kami-sama to take away my happiness. It was a miscarriage. I couldn't find happiness. You receive a oyako handbook about 6 weeks after finding out you're pregnant. That handbook, which I always clutched like a charm, became crumpled from tears I shed for days and weeks, crying endlessly. I spent my days huddled in bed alone. My spouse and I weren't deeply in love, so my husband didn't know what words to offer me. He was constantly crying. Eventually, he barely came home anymore. I don't intend to blame him for that either.
いつかずっと小さな頃にお屋敷から助け出してくれたおばあさん。あの人が渡してくれた小さな袋。
A way to get
その
back.
ことを思い出し、ようやく開いた。そして見つけた。
A way to get back someone precious.
空っぽになってしまったお腹を撫でて誓った。あなたの命、あなたが歩むはずだった幸せな時間、私が全部取り戻すからって。あなたのことをちゃんとこの世に産んであげたかった。
Nana-chan says,
この世界は辛く寂しいことばかりで溢れているけど、それでもそれに似合うだけの幸せだっていっぱいあるはず。
she came to believe that when she became pregnant with you, she would stroke her rounded belly and tell you, "You were the benefactor who saved my lonely heart."
だからあなたの命を取りこぼしてしまったからといってまた次の子をとはどうしても思えなかった。
She just couldn't switch her mindset like that, no matter what.
あなただ、日和。あなたじゃないとダメだったんだよ。私はあなたに命と未来をあげたかったんだよ。それが私の夢だった。
She believed that if that Yume came true, even though her life had been full of loneliness, she would finally be happy.
この世界に新しい命の居場所を作る。そうすることで妹の居場所を奪ったことへの贖罪にもなるのかな。そうなればいいな。そういう風にも思ってた。
But
夢は叶わなかった。何もかも。だから大切な命を夜の中から連れ戻す方法、それを試してみたいと願ったの。
Nana was as if she continued to speak in a tone as if recounting her distant memories.
大切な人を夜の中から連れ戻すには、夜の国に散らばっている人々の思いや願いのかけらを、星のかけらを必要な分だけ集める必要があった。
Seeking fragments of stars, the two of them traveled throughout the Yoru, being guided by the Yoru no Kami-sama, who drove a steam locomotive, whom they met at that time. The particles of light collected in this way were needed to make a special purchase at the place where expiring lives arrive, the terminal station at time. It was the vessel necessary for life, to be reborn once again in the outside world. After purchasing those parts from the shops at the station, all that remained was the exchange of life for life. Those methods were recorded in the Nikki she received from her Obachan. It was in the bag she was given. I finished hearing Nana-chan's entire story. I gazed at the jet black train window. Where on earth was the train running now? Gazing as if searching for a single light in the darkness, I muttered.
私のお母さんは、生まれる前に死んでしまった私のことを、お母さんは夜の中から取り戻そうとしてくれた。
To try to birth her into this world. Her, a face unknown, never held. The one who she tried to save.
そのた
That's
めに
who she tried to save.
お父さんと二人で夜の国へと旅立った。
Oh, I'm surprised her Otosan also joined in. I repeated to myself what Nana-chan had taught me. If you want to obtain something in the Yoru no Kuni, you must offer something of equal value. Inochi. An exchange of life for life.
お母さんはお父さんの命を支払って私を夜の中から救い出そうとしたけれど、
I couldn't. Just before I realized the horror of what I was thinking and ran away. And as if to punish myself for thinking such a terrible thing, I offered my own life to the Yoru and brought my life out of the Yoru.
何も知らない人のいいあなたのお父さんはお母さんの妻の一人では怖い勇気がない。だから一緒に来てほしいというお願いにただただ純真にうなずいた。
Never once did I dream there was a dark intention behind it. Both my Otosan and Okasan were, in a way, still pure enough to enter and exit the Yoru back then. Growing up varies from person to person. My Okasan in particular spent much of her childhood confined in a dark room. Because of that, her heart probably wasn't as tainted by the adult world as others. So they both awoke in the Yoru and embarked on a journey together to get me back, but they went around collecting star fragments together. They brought a vessel to have me reborn into the real world and finally tried to exchange my life for my Tosan's life. Shiteru. My Tosan apparently said that to my Okasan. I know everything you're thinking and why you came this far. My Tosan had been looking up at the Sakura with her said, I'll give you my life. Let's get our child back. I'm sorry. That is the only way I can repay you, at least. My Otosan loved another, wanting to be with them. But strict family traditions, their sole virtue forbade it. Let's be together in the next life. I love you. I love you. Secretly from you, I had sworn that to that person since childhood. I can't love you, yet it's as if I toyed with your life. That became a heavy sense of guilt within my Otosan, tormenting him. That's why he thought it was okay to offer his life to my Okasan this time. He was a person burdened with that kind of loneliness. Everyone gets hurt, everyone suffers, everyone lives through their own unique sorrows. Let's be happy in the next world, in the next life. Let's find someone we love. That's when I came to my senses. Guilt. I was trying to prey on someone with such a lonely heart, all to fulfill my own dream. No way. That I was thinking such a thing. No way. Coming to my senses, I hated myself. I even felt terrified. I bolted, letting go of my Otosan's hand. I ran. Why? Doshite? Such a kind person I don't know why I even thought of doing something like this. It's as if the will of someone other than myself flowed into my heart. I shouted.
私だ。
To give my life to that child. In the instant, the Yoru, the girl sleeping at the bottom of the Yoru, must have accepted that nagai. Murakasan lost her life. She became a kage, wandering the Yoru. And so I used the Niño my Okasan made as a vessel, received my Okasan's heart, gained existence, and was reborn into the time of the sun. Neither my Otosan nor Okasan were there, as a lonely girl. Many adults took turns raising me when I was a baby. Wait, what happened to the Otosan? I know the Okasan was she decided to sacrifice herself, but what happened to the Otosan? I'm a little confused. Anyway.
私は
I often asked the Obachas who took care of me about my Okasan. No one told me everything I wanted to know, and even among the adults, no one knew everything I asked about. What I was told was always just bits and pieces, connecting those pieces within myself.
私の命はお母さんのものなんだって知ったんだよ。
I, the being known as Yorutsuki Hiori, am kept alive by my Okasan's feelings. 10 years ago, I participated in a battle against the Yoru no O because I wanted to return this Inochi to my Okasan.
そうすれば最後に一瞬だけでもお母さんに会えるかもって思ってた。でもね、10年前の私が手に入れた魔法ではダメだった。誰のことも取り戻せなかった。どんなに願っても祈っても想像してみても夜は私の思いに応えてくれなかった。
I consulted Asai-san, asking Doshite. Doshite doesn't my magic grant my wish? Maho. I thought it was because my Sozoriku was weak. That's why the girls sleeping in the Yoru couldn't empathize with me. They couldn't sympathize. Is that why it can't be granted? Is my Yume just a childish one that can't reach anyone's heart, I wonder?
いいや、違うよ。
Asai-san said.
ただ、日和、君が取り戻したいと願っている人は、その人の魂とか心とか、存在そのものは、もうすでに次の何かに生まれ直してしまってるんじゃないかな。
The life of the precious person I wish would come back might already be living the next time. That's why my Maho apparently can't manifest its effects. Inochi that might already be living its next life. To be forcibly dragged back to its previous life, its past life, That is, would be beyond mere annoyance. It's far too selfish. If that's the case, what did I fight for? I, all alone. Who exactly should I live for? Searching for whose smile? I'm lost. Lost in life. How should I live life from now on? How should I cope with this lonely heart? I've lost my goals for living. My yume. My nagai. Even before... Kibo. Even before I was born.
ありがとう、日和。
To me, Asai-san gently said,
君の願い、君の夢、君の魔法、それらを少しでも私に教えてくれて。
It seemed Asai-san didn't know those of the other children though.
君の思いのすべてが叶うよう、これからもできうる限り協力していければと思う。君たち人間の心に憧れてばかりいるこんな私にどこまでできるのかわからないけどね。
After that, I remained a child who didn't know what to do, didn't understand how to live, and time just idled by. 10 years. Over 10 years had passed. Dreams don't come true. Such thoughts, such resignation must have gradually matured my heart into an adult one. My life had drifted away from the Yoru no Kuni. But just the other day, I was woken up by Taiga in the Yoru. There, I encountered many stories. Stories of Toya and Toya's friends. Special friends. Precious people. I believe we'll meet again. We should be able to hold hands and laugh together again. Many unseen feelings. Being reborn within the Yoru. Perhaps, Okasan.
あなたは夜の生き物となって夜の中に生まれ直して、そうしていつも私のそばにいて私のことを見守ってくれていないかな。
I harbored such a kibo.
お母さんが選んだ次はいつだって私たちの隣に寄り添う夜の中にある。だから私の魔法が届かなかったんじゃないのかな。
I ended up envisioning such a Yume. Or perhaps she became a Kage, filled with regret, still wandering within the Yoru. That's why my voice, my maho, still didn't reach her. Then I'll try a way to be reborn with a precious person. My room is the one my Okasan used. In its closet, I found an old bag. Inside was a Nikki. It was the only thing my Otosan, who returned all alone, brought back from the Yoru. Oh, okay, so he did return. I'm a little confused. Never mind. Let's go search for the fragments of the planet. Within the Nikki were such a scribbled sentence. A method to reclaim a lost life. A chizu for collecting the fragments of hope. I heard it from Obachan. My life was passed down from my class to me through this method. I set out on the trip just once to meet you. Through the same method Okasan used, this time I'll return the life, Inochi, to you. For that purpose, I set out on this journey.
夜の中でならきっと届くと信じてた。私の思いもお母さんからもらったこの命も全部届くと信じてたんだよ。
Guilt.
私もね、いつもそれを感じてた。お母さんと同じ。私がもうちょっと頑張って自分の力でこの世界に生まれてこれていたら、お母さんが自分の命を無駄にすることもなかったのにって。
You can't do anything about that, some might say. I could easily imagine that there must be quite a few people who would try to gently protect my heart in that way.
わかってる。理屈はわかるよ。とってもよくわかる。お母さんのお腹の中にいた小さな私は自分の自由に考えることもできないくらい小さかったんだもん。 メだよ。理屈じゃないの。私はきっと生まれることを諦めた。お母さんのお腹の中で何か小さなトラブルがあったんだろうと思う。
For that one small thing, I too easily gave up being born. I regret it deeply. Why couldn't I have tried harder? That's why I'm returning this, Inochi. I made up my mind to rid myself of the guilt inside my chest. If Okasa weren't trying her next life, weren't living her next life, but had merely turned into a mere kage amid the yoru, then that is what will come true. So inside the yoru, I'll be reborn into something new, something living. That's right. I then set out on this journey to die.
でもね、一人で夜を旅することは怖かった。勇気がなかった。星のかけらを集められる自信もあまりなかった。
If it was just that I lacked confidence, I might have had a hunch that Okasa was watching over me, even during the yoru, but I lacked confidence in that.
それに、一人ぼっちで命を返すのは、やっぱりね、すっごく怖かったし、寂しくもあったんだよ。
That's why I had Taiga come with me. I thought we were the closest friends there could be. I wanted her to watch over my sayonara. But that was a mistake, a massive fuck up. I'd steel myself into saying sayonara to so many things, so tonight should have been the final yoru I stepped into, yet here I am.
それなのに、タイガがあんなこと言い出すんだもん。
A yakusoku. The yakusoku I made with Taiga, who can't stand being alone, he remembered it. Just such a small thing, it made me so happy. That's why.
だからね、もうタイガと会えなくなっちゃう。それを怖いと思ったの。それは私の中にいろいろな気持ちが芽生えたからだと気づいてた。
Maybe Taiga would never leave me all alone. That's what I thought. It's possible she'll shower my always lonely heart with so much kindness. Yes, I ended up hoping for it.
だって私、ここでタイガと。
Thanks for reminding us about that. That's where we kiss. At first, it was almost forceful, but I think I was probably very happy. That's why I, who became a kage, wandering the yoru, sought those happy memories from back then and came here like this. I selfishly hope again that you would come to pick me up. It's you, Nana-chan, the Chisai no Kami-sama. Yoru no Chisai no Kami-sama found lonely me like this. And then it's strange. Now like this, I, who was supposed to be a kage, am back in my original form, even if it's only for a short while. But, Nana-chan. Gomen, ne, Taiga. I can't go any further from here, and I don't want to, I think.
私には将来の夢とか何もない。なりたいものとか、やりたいこととか、そういうの、全然ないの。
Instead, I was always lost. How am I supposed to live this life I received from Okasan? Where is the right path?
夢がないと生きていないのと同じって誰かが言ってたけど、その通りだなって思うよ。夢があったらきっと誰も人生に迷わないから。
But I have absolutely none of that. Instead, only a lot of loneliness and guilt pile up in my heart day by day. I just keep thinking that I'm a worthless person, as I spend each day achieving nothing.
だからね、そろそろもういいかなって思ったの。こんな寂しい気持ちをずっと抱えて生きていくのも疲れるし、何もないこんな私がたった一人でこれから先大人の世界を生きていける自信はなかった。完全に大人になっちゃうその前に 夜の国に完全に関われなくなっちゃうその前にね。旅に出ようと決めたんだよ。
So I decided to abandon the existence of Yorotsuki Hiori and reborn as a Yoru no Ikemono. I'll stay by my favorite friend's side. Live the Yoru from now on. My heart, my Inachi, will be a child forever. Oh, man. I see.
トウヤとそのお友達のことを見て、そういう道を私も選ぼうって思ったの。大切に思いたい誰かのそばにいつも寄り添う。その人が何か困難に立ち止まることがあるのなら、いつでもそばで力を貸したい。夢も希望も何もない私だから、大切な人の夢や希望を応援していく生き方もきっといい。
Even so, my resolve wavered.
大河ともう少し一緒にいたいなって、そんなことを思ってしまったんだよ。バカみたいだけど、おかしな話だけれど、そう思っちゃったの。
To shake out those feelings, I looked at the Sakura with Taiga. I'll let go of this hand we held. I decided that moment would be the signal. That's what I decided. Sayonara. Saying that, arigato, Taiga. Conveying that, I let go of that person's hand.
いつかあなたの命が終わる時、最後の時だよ。その時に、ああの時ああいう風にしておけば、そういう後悔をするような生き方だけはしちゃダメだよ。
Those were words written in the Nikki. Inside the Nikki, I quickly felt true. There wasn't just the single sentence. Let's go find the planet fragments. Wait, what? Okay. And it just explained the Yoru's mystery. The Yoru mysteries. Words chronicling the days were lined up there. Surely these were words left by someone who cared for my Okasan. They must have been words that encouraged my Okasan's heart. Because I could imagine it that way. That's why I like those words too. I always held them in my heart like a charm.
あなたがこれから
守り。
どんな未来を思い描くのか、あなたがどんな選択をしても、どんな風に与えられた命を選ぼうと、あなたが思い通り以上に生きていけるような世界にしたい。あなたが人生を終えるとき、何の後悔もなく笑っていられますように。そういう
Oops. I lowered my eyes.
でもダメだよ、ナナちゃん。
I don't have the right to fulfill my dream.
私の胸にあるのはお母さんの命なんだよ。そうだね。
Nana-chan blinks, as if to say, so what?
私、夢も希望も何もないのに、ただ毎日仲のいい子とワイワイできてればそれでいいんだって、それだけで頑張りたいなって思うようなことも何もない。世の中には私なんかよりもっと頑張って生きてる人がたくさんいるし、たくさんいたはずだよ。それなのに、こんな私だけが人生をやり直せるなんて。こんな私だけが人の命をもらってまで生きる価値がどこにあるのかな。
No matter what. I couldn't believe there was. To put it bluntly, even all the food and oxygen consumed to connect me to the future feel like a waste.
だから私はもう夜の中に帰りたかった。
I'm about to be swallowed by the huge guilt that keeps piling up just by the fact that I'm living in the outside world.
確かに
Nana-chan says,
確かに母親の命をあなたはもらった。あなたは人一人の命を、そして人生をすべて奪ったとも言えるのかもしれない。でも代わりにっていうのも短絡的だけれど、とにかくあなたは日和。あなたが一人分の命を犠牲にしてこの世界に生まれてきたからこそ、夜の王は倒された。
You, along with your friends, saved the future of many people. Nana-chan said that and looked up to me.
だから、あなたが罪の意識なんて持つ必要はない。むしろ、誇ってさえいいはずだ。
Everyone in this world must think so, Nana-chan declared.
でも、だからね、日和。
Nana-chan cuts out my hesitant voice.
今度はあなた自身の夢を叶える番だよ。ようやくその番が回ってきたんだ。どういうこと？
I had no yume or kibo. I've been saying that all along. So why is it my turn to make a yume come true now?
日和、あなたは10年前の夜の中で魔法を得た。失われた命を夜の中から取り戻すための魔法を、同じように集められた子らと力を合わせて、そしてその魔法はまだ使われることのないままあなたの胸の中にある。
Nana-chan pointed at my mune.
10年前には確かにあなたは夢を抱いた。その時の夢はもうなくなってしまったのかもしれないけれど、それでもあなたの心は夢見ることができないわけじゃない。
If I search, I was sure to find a new yume, different from back then. Now what am I mune?
今だよ。今こそあなたのその魔法を今日まで重ねてきたいっぱいの思いを解き放つ時だよ。そのすべてをあなた自身の夢のために使う時だよ。私の夢。
I murmured that. Then the face of someone precious floated into my mind. His smile. Taiga's smile. The one I realized was so precious to me. Now, his left hand is the kagi to use in my maho, my own feelings. Taiga inherited that role from Asai-san. Nana-chan told me that. Nana-chan repeatedly told me that I should use that power sleeping within me for myself now. Taiga. Tonight, I fabricated a reason within myself that I wanted a memory before saying sayonara and pressed my lips to his. My chest ached. Taiga remembered his promise to me, but to be honest, Shojiki, it was just a little curiosity at first. If this was truly the last night, then I wanted to try that. If so, Taiga was the one. I wanted Taiga to take all of me. With those feelings somewhere within me, I pressed my lips to his but I thought, I don't want this. If I could turn back from the night and spend time together again starting tomorrow, maybe I wouldn't have to feel that lonely sensation of being all alone anymore. Taiga would be with me. Perhaps I could live within a time colored differently from before. From now on, I had even found myself imagining such a thing. Did Nana-chan know all my feelings and still tell me to make my dream come true? If so, I felt a little embarrassed. As expected of a kami-sama, she saw right through everything, even these feelings I was starting to harbor for Taiga. But if I then return my life to the Yoru tonight, I would surely continue to regret it, until my very last moment. Forever. Such a life would truly be like being at the bottom of hell. It was precisely because I felt that way that I was here, like this now.
後悔。
If I chose to return my life to the Yoru like this, would I truly have no regrets? A tomorrow at Ashita where I could laugh with Taiga was selling in my heart. I was starting to get lost. It's always like this. I'm always getting lost.
ねえ日和、
As I held my head, Nana-chan gently told me there is no time to be lost.
もうそろそろ朝が目覚める。
I looked up at the towering clock tower outside the window.
急いで日和。あなたがどんな夢を抱くのかはわからないけれど、太陽が目覚めるまでに走り出さないと。大河が危ない。
Oh, man. I hate to say this, but I need to end now. I'm thinking about continuing this tomorrow instead of Haragana Sora. I want to keep reading, but I have to get some sleep. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I guess we'll continue this tomorrow. I'll probably do Haragana Sora on Sunday then. Maybe. I feel like we're close to finishing Hiori's route. Big maybe. Anyway, I'll see you guys. Ciao. Wait. I don't want to make the mistake I did last time. I forgot to save. Anyway, I'll see you guys. Ciao.